Hello and welcome everyone to Galactic Gumbo, the topic show, episode 7. My name is Josh, also known as G1 Hextron, and joined with several people here. We even have a special guest as well, but I'm going to start off with the co-host people here. Rick, why don't you go ahead and tell people where they can find you, man?
You can find me on Twitter as Shatrdglassjazz.
All right, and Mike?
You can also find me on Twitter underneath BotConFan1978.
And Dalton, good to have you back, man. Can y'all hear Dalton?
Barely.
You might turn your mic up.
Right there?
Like put it in your mouth, so because we can barely hear you.
Say something, Dalton.
How about now?
All right, you're gonna have to be louder, Dalton. Should have done a mic check with you. You haven't been on in a while.
How about that? Can you hear that?
There we go.
There you go.
Okay, there we go.
Where can people find you, man?
You can pretty much find me everywhere at Daltonian CFs. I finally have a custom URL for YouTube, so just type in that right there.
All right, and our guest, Devall, he does several different things, so why don't you tell people where they can find you and some of your kind of spotlight shows, what they should be, really looking for on your channel.
Absolutely. We've got, you can find me on at Puppet Devall on Twitter. You can find me on toyworldorder.com, youtube.com/toyworldorder, youtube.com/boardtheshow, and then our spotlight shows we do. My wife and I do a show where we show off our finds and our stuff that we found in garage sales, antiques shows, antique malls, all that stuff. Used to be called Flea Market Finds. We renamed it because there's umpteen thousand Flea Market Find shows on YouTube, and I was like, yeah. So we decided to call it Collection Expansion Extravaganza. That's kind of our one of our key shows on YouTube, and then as well as a lot of the stuff we do. I do a lot of reviews with a co-host that's a puppet, who's called Puppet Devall, who is just a goofy fuzzy. He's not for everybody, but he makes me giggle, so we keep doing it. And then I do stuff with my best friend Dave Draper. We do a podcast, Dave and Devall's Toys and Collectibles. My wife and I do a podcast, Married to the Collection, so there's lots of different ways that you can track me down. Plus, we have a fan group on Facebook, facebook.com. You look up Toy World Order Fans and join the fan group. So.
All right, awesome, man. Like always, guys, we're going to start off with a Mount Rushmore, but we have several Mount Rushmores that we're going to do today. The first one is movie directors. So basically, what is your Mount Rushmore of movie directors? And this is basically everyone's favorite 4 is the way everyone does Mount Rushmore. It's not these are the top 4 guys based on their gross sales and films and stuff like that. It's these is what they put out. These are my 4 favorite guys. So I'll just kind of put it out there to you guys. Whoever wants to answer first, go at it.
Okay, I'll go first. On my Mount Rushmore, I had Oliver Stone, Clint Eastwood, Steven Spielberg, and Robert Zemeckis.
Robert Zemeckis. What does he do?
I'm not
Who Framed Roger's Rabbit?
Back to the Future.
Yeah,
Oh,
I said the
okay.
last name wrong. My bad.
Okay. Dude, see, those are some good ones. Eastwood, he didn't make mine, but I look at him as like one of those guys that was, kind of on that back burner for me, because I think that's a really good choice.
Stone did it for me with JFK.
Oh, that was a great movie.
That was an awesome movie, yeah. And I'm really looking forward to. He's got another one coming out here real soon, I believe. But and then Eastwood has Sully coming out next Friday night, I think it is.
Oh, with Tom Hanks, yeah.
Now that I really, really want to see. That looks really good.
What about you, Rick? You want to go next and kind of,
Sure.
I guess kind of highlight, some of the, I guess maybe films or why you like them.
Yep. Number 1 on my list is Alfred Hitchcock, and you don't know it from my collection and stuff, but I love horror movies, and I do a little bit of art direction, a little bit of marketing, a little bit of design, and honestly, when I was in college doing visual communication, there was a semester where I highlighted in my photography nothing but like Hitchcock-inspired photographs and had a gallery and things like that. So Hitchcock was very inspirational for me, how he shot, the things he did. Psycho, Vertigo, The Birds. You guys probably have seen at least one of those.
Yeah.
Number two is an obvious one, but I can't not have him on here. It's Steven Spielberg, and Jaws is still one of my favorite movies. Raiders of the Lost Ark, also still one of my favorite movies, and E.T. Definitely, because I feel like without E.T. then there's no Goonies, there's no Stranger Things, it was that the kids on the bikes in the '80s thing,
Exactly.
Number three, Robert Zemeckis. I'm a huge Back to the Future fan, and I mean, I love Back to the Future. It's I probably watch it 3 times a year, the trilogy. I like some of his other movies, but honestly, he's on the list because of Back to the Future and how much I like it. And then the last one, he only needed to make one movie, and I was on board, and that's Irvin Kershner and Empire Strikes Back. The room I'm in, the colors, everything in this room, a lot of why I collect, a lot of why the career I picked, a lot of things stemmed out of me as a kid seeing Empire Strikes Back. There's a lot of things in that movie that are inspirational. If you look at the creature design, you look at the worlds of Hoth, look at the design on Bespin, from the walls to the freeze chamber. There's a lot of inspirational design in that movie. So yeah, those are my top 4.
Oh, what about you, Jason?
Spielberg's on there. Chris Columbus is a big one. John Hughes is a big one. I'm a big 80s kid, but Planes, Trains, and Automobiles is one of the finest comedies ever created and ever put to film. See, Spielberg, Hughes, Columbus. John Carpenter is another one. Great horror director who a lot of people kind of overlook, but he's done a lot of amazing horror flicks, and they stand the test of time. So.
Yeah, I didn't even think, because I wrote several of them down. I'm like, here's what people might say, and here's some I was juggling with. And I told one, I'm not a horror film, but I can definitely appreciate, because every time you see hey, you know what, that was tasteful horror. John Carpenter, he's one of those guys.
Yeah, go back and watch the original Halloween, and it still holds up to this day. You can still watch that movie and go, that's how a horror movie should be done.
Yes, beautiful.
Mr. Dalton, what about you, man?
Well, I'm going to have to kind of go with some of the others and say Spielberg. I mean, Raiders of the Lost Ark and, E.T. Love those movies growing up. Watched those with my dad a lot. Zemeckis, Who Framed Roger Rabbit? You can't, miss that one. I am going to, I don't know if this is breaking the rule or not, but I'm also going to say Hayao Miyazaki, if anyone is familiar with Studio Ghibli.
I'm not, but...
Japanese Walt Disney.
Yeah, pretty much. Some amazing films that he's done. I mean, the top two that people think of are Howl's Moving Castle and Spirited Away.
Yeah, I'm a big Kiki's Delivery Service fan.
Yeah, that one too. Yeah. Or, the one that got the logo for his studio, My Neighbor Totoro. That's another really good one. And again, sticking with the whole animation thing, I'm going to have to say John Lasseter. I mean, he's done some really good stuff with Disney and Pixar the past 20 years now.
All right, you did 4, right?
Yeah.
Okay. As far as mine, I mean, Spielberg, I think we all kind of know why he's on there. So many different things. One that I haven't heard said, and he's one of my favorite, is Scorsese. The Departed. You've got Shutter. I love Scorsese movies. I just absolutely love them. The way he does everything. I put George Lucas. I don't know if that's actually director, because I was just kind of thinking for him for Star Wars and like Willow and stuff like that. Does that count? Okay.
I think so. Yeah.
Okay. Just kind of creative mind behind that. Here's where I got hung up with is number 4, because I put on there, man, I love Tim Burton and his kind of like dark side of stuff, but there's some that I don't like. Ridley Scott, he's out there. You all mentioned a few of them, and I was like, I guess let me go with Cameron, just because his one movie that I was just amazed by whenever it came out was The Abyss. Mm-hmm. And I just thought to like underwater and that like that station and stuff like that, and you have the alien presence. There were so many things that involved in that movie to where it could have went anywhere. It was just interesting all over the place, and just the technology of it. I absolutely loved that movie. So, what are some of the other ones that we just kind of left on the floor there? Tarantino.
Mel Brooks.
Yeah, Mel
Yeah.
Brooks.
Mel Brooks.
Another great horror, Wes Craven.
Yeah, Wes Craven was my next one, and John Carpenter would have been in one right after that.
What do you guys think about
Woody Allen is up there.
the Coen brothers? Do y'all put them, or Peter Jackson?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I think he's definitely deserves a spot.
Yeah. Well, I don't know about the whole Hobbit. After the Hobbit thing, I think he's kind of like, eh.
Yeah, that's true.
But that's what happens when you go, hey, direct this movie. I don't want to direct this movie. Direct this movie. Fine.
All right, I think one that people enjoy a little bit more. So, and this one, I was like, dude, I'm definitely on point. I know my 4 with these. Mount Rushmore, kind of why. You can kind of go into detail. Fantasy, sci-fi movies. Like, you could do fantasy on its own. You could do sci-fi, but I figured let's pair the two in there to make it a little bit harder. What's your Mount Rushmore? Who wants to go first?
I'll go first. Willow is up there. I know. Willow's a great fantasy film. Willow's up there. Labyrinth is a big one. Dark Crystal's a big one. Both are big ones for me because of Jim Henson. And then for the 4th one, I'd have to go with the '87 Masters of the Universe film, which people hate so much, but that movie is so spectacularly good and bad at the same time. Listen to the score to that film sometime. I don't think there was a better score to a sci-fi fantasy film in the '80s than that. That score is unreal.
Before we get on to the next person, some of the people in the chat here, they said Spielberg, Whedon, Christopher Nolan, Kirshner.
I forgot about Kirshner.
Mio del Toro. Jen says Tim Burton, Christopher Nolan, Ron Howard, J.J. Abrams. I mean, and then another person says Luke Besson.
Luc Besson.
Besson? Okay.
Yep.
You'll learn that, like, I still get crap for, like, months ago whenever I called Josh Duhamel. I called him Josh Duhamel.
Hey, that's nothing.
Sound stuff out, man. That's the way I read it.
For almost 20 years, I've taken crap from some of my closest friends because I used to pronounce amalgam as amalgam. There's that.
Who wants to go next?
Fantasy stuff? I'll go.
Fantasy, sci-fi together.
Yeah. I just went kind of purely fantasy because I wasn't quite sure. So the ones I was looking at was Legend. I like the horror element in it. Never Ending Story. And Fellowship of the Ring. And Willow.
Oh, Willow getting some love.
I guess on mine, I'm more of sci-fi than fantasy, and I'm not even really sure that the first one followed in either one of these categories. But I was thinking Back to the Future on there as fantasy, but I might be wrong. But if not, my sci-fis were Star Trek, Star Wars, and then a funny one, Galaxy Quest. If you have never seen that movie.
Oh, I love it.
Which Star Wars? The first one, A New Hope?
That would actually be Return of the Jedi.
Okay, Return of the Jedi. All right.
Have any of y'all seen Galaxy Quest or know about that movie?
I've seen it.
I've
Yeah.
seen it. I love it.
Okay. Y'all didn't know. I didn't know if y'all seen it or not. So.
Dalton, you want to go next?
I might have to do half and half because I haven't seen a lot of fantasy, so I'd have to say Never Ending Story and Hellboy for fantasy. For sci-fi, I'd probably go Would Ghostbusters be considered sci-fi?
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
it's fantasy sci-fi, so it's all together. You don't have to,
So there'd be that, and but it's so many of them. I'd go Avatar, James Cameron's Avatar.
Okay. Night of Ren says Starship Troopers. Jen says Flash Gordon.
He'll save every one of us.
Did you get 4 in there, Dalton?
Yeah.
Okay. I went with Willow was my number 1. Whenever I put this together and I was like, okay, what's going to be my 4? I'm like, before I even wrote out the topic, I was like, I'm already thinking Willow. I love everything about that movie. I remember seeing it in theaters, and I had the biggest crush on Saoirse. Is it Joanne Wally? Is that how you say her name? I don't know, but I just had the biggest crush on her. Let's see. So I had that Empire Strikes Back. I had to throw a Star Wars in there. Then what I consider to be still the best sci-fi movie to date, Blade Runner. I love that movie. And then I put Raiders of the Lost Ark. Got to throw an Indiana Jones in there. I love that adventure type stuff. So now we're going to get into a little bit more kind of toy obscure type Mount Rushmores, and Devall, you collect a lot of these. You do these on your show.
Yes.
Fast food kids toy line. So whether it was from Burger King, McDonald's, Arby's, Dairy Queen, there was tons of companies that did it back then.
Yes, everyone did it at one point. Jack in the Box, just so many different ones. If I had to pick 4, the McDonald's Muppet Baby set from '86, where they had Gonzo's on the tricycle and Kermit's on a skateboard. So that was one that stands out to me. There was a Looney Tunes superhero one that was released by McDonald's, where Bugs, Petunia, Daffy, and
Taz
had superhero outfits. Flash, Superman, Wonder Woman, and Batman. That's a fun set. The Lion King set from Burger King, when the film first came out, I was infatuated with Lion King when that movie came out. I couldn't tell you how many times I saw that in the theater, but I went to Burger King like every day looking for those toys. I'm like, I want them all. Give me them all. And the 4th one would have to be just something from my childhood. Arby's used to release it. They released a ton of stuff, but if anyone remembers little kids' books from the 80s, late 70s, early 80s, called Little Miss and Mr. Men, they were just these little, like, colorful shaped people, and Arby's released just a ton of them. And I've got almost the whole collection of those, and that's probably the 4th on my top Rushmore, just because I remember going to Arby's with my mom and stepdad, and we would, I swear, every time we went, it didn't matter what year it was, it would be another set of those things. And I'm like, they ever going to stop giving these out, or they just got millions of them? What's happening here?
I think I know what you're talking about. I think I had a purple one.
Little purple one, looked like a triangle on legs.
Yeah. Like the top, it kind of came down, and then it kind of had a little wider body, and the 2 little stuff. You like, okay,
had a little hat on.
See, that's the cool thing about whenever I watch your show is I'm like, oh, forgot all about because it's one of those things where I remember all He-Man, our Captain Power Sectars, I remember all that stuff, but it's those little obscure things to where it's like, man, I totally forgot about that, So.
Well, if we get a chance later, we could talk about obscurity and how my knowledge of obscurity came to be, because it was pre-internet, so.
All right, who wants to go next? I know, Rick, you said that you're like, man, I did my homework.
Yeah, this one wasn't too bad. I didn't have to do a whole lot. So I don't know the years. That's my only problem is with the years. Devall will probably know the years. Jack in the Box did some Batman Adventures type design characters, and at the time they were doing them, there wasn't a Batgirl in that black costume from the last few episodes of the animated or adventures, Batman Adventures. So there was a Batgirl in there. So I bought that whole line of those as an adult. And then also the McDonald's did a Batman animated line, and I bought all of those. I still have all of those. And they were pretty good as well. There was a Batgirl in there, but it was the first version of Batgirl in the gray suit. Big Batgirl fan, obviously. The third one is from my childhood. Hardee's did Gremlins book and records, and you'd go every week, and when you completed them, you can listen to the whole. I want to say that I probably wore those out on the little record player that I had. And my grandparents used to carry me to Hardee's to go get those. And then the fourth one was something that I didn't own. I never had any of them. I think there were 4 of them, and that was the Burger King glasses from 1980, The Empire Strikes Back. I think there were 4. Never had them.
Oh, wow.
But I think they're awesome.
I got something similar to that. Oh, go ahead.
I was going to say on mine, mine would have to be, one of them was, I think it was McDonald's when I was a kid. It was the actual Fraggle Rock toys. It was the actual Fraggle Rock that had the little, like, probably vegetable vehicle or whatever. I had those. Then McDonald's as well did the Transformer little burger or chicken nugget or whatever they had.
McChangeables.
Yeah, there was that. And one was actually the Muppet Babies. I actually had all those as a child as well. And then another one would be the Batman. It was either Batman Forever or Batman and Robin, the glasses. I got those from McDonald's as well. As you can tell, I'm obese, so I ate at McDonald's quite a bit as a child.
Batman Forever was the
Batman Forever? Okay.
They were like little, like coffee mug type.
Well, they
were crystal.
They made glass ones. Yeah, they made crystal glass ones, and then they had these big. They did them for Batman Returns and Batman Forever in some places too. These big plastic cups.
Okay, yeah, I remember having a couple of, and then like the Two-Face one had the handle was basically the coin flipping.
Yeah.
I actually still have that whole set.
Oh, nice.
One thing I did over the years is I collected as a hoarder on McDonald's toys. My mother, Lord rest her soul, she worked at McDonald's when they had the Beanie Babies when they first started coming out. And I have a whole tote full of McDonald's Beanie Babies that she collected. I mean, 2 or 3 of each ones. So.
But you had a full stickered out McDonald's Monopoly board too, huh?
I wish I wouldn't be here right now.
I vanished a moment ago. You were talking about Gremlins. I thought I could find that easier on my shelf.
Yes.
Yes. I thought I knew exactly where they were, but they were buried in there. The artwork in these were pretty spectacular.
I spent a lot of time with those.
Yes. As did I, my friend. As did I.
Some people in the chat, Surround Game says California Raisins. Also, the Looney Tunes superhero Snap-on costumes. Nada Ren says Batman the Animated Series Premium California Raisins from Hardee's. Return of the Jedi glasses. And then Surround Game says have the cereal box DuckTales figures. Gizmo Duck was a holy grail found them years later at a flea market bin.
You know, it's funny. Those actually were overseas in Australia. Those actually were Happy Meal toys. The Kellogg's little PVC figures for Chippendales and DuckTales and Tailspin. They actually did those as Happy Meal toys overseas.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Dalton, you want to cue in, or you want me to go?
I finally remembered some of the ones. The one I can't remember where I got it from. It was I think it was Wendy's or Arby's. It was the Halloween train or something like that they had. I had that growing up. The Burger King Transformers Cybertron set had some of those. The McDonald's Hot Wheels sets that they'd put out. And I think they also I got some of the Tonka ones that they did a couple years after that.
All right, for me, it's kind of simple to see where I went with this stuff. First off, I did the Transformers, McDonald's figures. They're Transformers, and I just used them as like citizens that would get destroyed by my regular Transformers. It's kind of the way that I played with them. Batman Returns, that was one of my favorite movies. Then and even now, I just love it so much. That's seeing Michelle Pfeiffer's Catwoman. That's where the first Julie Newmar it was actually, but then seeing her, I was just like, man, I just really like Catwoman, like whoever plays her. So the Batman Returns figures, I believe you had Penguin, and they were just little cars, and then he would like spin his umbrella in front of it and stuff like that. I forget all the characters they had. Devall probably has them all.
Oh god, yeah. There was Penguin. There was Catwoman's little. She was in a little purple cat car that when it moved, the little tail wagged.
Yep.
There was a Bat Missile with Batman and the Bat Missile, and there was another one too. And I can't think of it off the top of my head.
The Batmobile stuff was always hard to get. There was the Bat Ski, the boat.
That's the other one I'm thinking of. Was a little Bat boat.
Yeah, so those were things that I liked, just because they were Batman, and every time I played with them, it just reminded me of going and watching that film. The Looney Tunes superheroes, the Snap-ons, those were something that my brother wanted them so bad that he was like, that's what I want for Christmas. And my dad had to go in there and just was like, the Happy Meal toys, and they were like, hey, we're only doing this one for like, a week or 2 weeks or whatever, and then we do the next one. He's like, look, I don't even want the Happy Meals, just I want to buy all 4 of them right now. This is what my son wants. And then he talked to the manager, and he sold them to my dad for like $5 a piece, and he was like, whatever, those are out of the way. But he loved those. Then let's see here, the last thing, it may be kind of boring to some people, but I actually played with these as toys, and you kind of mentioned glasses before. They were just white cups, but this was during DC Superpowers, to where you had Batman, which was blue and gray, to where he had here's the cup, there was a little bitty thing that would slide up under it, and then his 2 arms would connect around it. So you had, Superman, you had Batman, and I would just play with those all the time like they were just regular figures. Like, they didn't have to have any articulation. It was just like, hey, they're on hoverboards, whatever. That's exactly what I'm talking about right there. So,
Batman, Superman.
That made my top 4. I love those.
Darkseid and Wonder Woman. There you go.
Yeah, I think I had. Did they make any more than those?
Nope, that was just the only 4 they made.
Oh, 4? Okay.
Take them off their cups, and no articulation, just hard PVC on a base. They just snap onto the cups. And they hold on to them.
And where did they come from?
These were Burger King.
Okay.
Yeah, I had Wonder Woman, Batman, and Superman. I didn't know about the 4th.
Darkseid. Yeah.
Wow.
He was the odd one. He was just he was too good to actually hold the cup, so the cup actually just clips into the top of his arms because his arms are crossed.
See, I don't think I had Darkseid. I don't remember that one.
It took me a long time to find that set because I couldn't find a cup for Batman.
Oh, before we move on to the next thing, what are some of the other ones that were really popular that maybe we didn't name or we didn't remember? One that I think was popular was during Halloween, McDonald's did the little buckets where you had a witch, a pumpkin, a ghost, a Frankenstein, I believe is what it was.
Yeah.
Pumpkin, a Frankenstein, a witch, yeah. Some of the other ones I think were people tend to forget, but in the late 70s, early 80s, just about every fast food restaurant had at some time or another a deal for, buy this week's glass cup for $5, and they did Care Bears, they did all the movie stuff like Superman, Superman 2, and Star Wars had a line of cups from I want to say they were I know they were Pepsi Company cups, but just all these glass collector cups that now are getting harder and harder to find because less and less of them survived in decent condition. But like the Muppet movie had a series of them.
I had all of those.
Yeah,
I love them. The Muppet ones I loved, and the Smurfs I had at least 5 of those. I feel like I had a whole lot of them.
Yeah, Hardee's did like 4 waves of those glasses, and I think each wave had like maybe 8 or 9 different glasses in each wave. So you start putting them all together, and you're like, oh, that's a lot of Smurfs, people.
Yeah, that's a lot.
Yeah.
Another thing, mentioning and this was one of my brothers. He loved the stuff to where he could like kind of dress it up, and it had a feature to it. The McNuggets, to where it was just a McNugget. They had different goofy eyes or mouths or whatever, but you could dress them up like Frankenstein, and then you flip flop it. So those, did they just release those during Halloween, or did they?
No, there was a line of McNugget buddies that was released where they were like, one had looked like an Australian outbacker because he had a boomerang and an Australian outback hat on, and they released a number of at Halloween, but a lot of them were released just during the regular parts of the year.
Okay, yeah, I remember that he always he wanted those, just like the the Looney Tunes superhero things. I think I also remember something with pigs and tanks.
No, that was Barnyard Commandos. That was an actual toy line. Yeah.
Okay. I thought one of them they did a.
They were pretty much glorified Happy Meal toys, honestly, because there's not much to them.
I thought one of them though did come out with just one where they were Barnyard Commandos, but they were like the figure was like the top portion of them, and he's like molded
into like a little wrist thing. You could put them on your wrists and you could fly them around. But yeah,
okay.
I think that was a Burger King line too.
Okay. Anybody got any others?
One I just remembered was the Atlantis, The Lost Empire. They did some of those. I think I had a couple of them.
All right, we'll move on to the next thing. Talking lunchbox is another thing that Devall collects. It was something that I still had a lot of them until for some reason I just kept them in a box until I was about 22 or 23, and it was one of those things to where I left them in a storage bin, and I had moved a couple times, completely forgot about it, and they sold it off or whatever, and I had all kinds of stuff in there. But who wants to start off with their Mount Rushmore of, I guess, 70s, 80s, 90s lunchboxes? Basically, were they all made by Aladdin, or?
No, there was a number of different companies throughout the years. Aladdin is the one that's most well known because they did so many. But there was a couple of different companies, but Aladdin is probably the most one that's out there in people's minds and did the most of them.
The plastic with the snap, the thermos, with the logo there, and just a sticker on the front that we get messed up quite often. So to find one of those things in like beautiful condition is really hard. So
my top 4 on that is there was one from the late 60s for a Disney line that's it looks just like one of those old 30s and 40s lunchboxes. It's got the rounded tops to it, and it flips open. The top comes open. I've got it up on the shelf, and I don't open it very often because it's not in the greatest shape. But it's a school bus, little Disney school bus. That's probably like the top of my list. That's one of the hardest to find in pristine condition for lunchboxes because the way they were shaped, they just get beat up. And a lot of mine are metal lunchboxes. There was a couple of Thundercats ones that were released that are really nice. There was a couple of Muppet Show ones, and they all were the same, except on the back. The backs all had a different character on them. So you had Fozzie, you had Kermit, you had Piggy, you had Animal. I believe there was a Gonzo, there was a Rolf. So it was just like all these different ones that all looked the same, but they all had different characters on the back. And I've got a couple of those that are at the top of my list. Plastic lunchboxes, though, I've got a couple of obscure ones. Golden Girls, with not the TV show Golden Girls, not the old ladies together. No, there's an obscure line of 80s toys that came out around the time She-Ra came out, and they were from Glue, but they were called Golden Girls, and they were kind of their She-Ra knockoff. But they did a lunchbox for it. I found that one day. I was like, didn't know they made a Golden Girls show. I guess I'm buying this. And then that's about it that I think of top of my 5. I think I'm missing one.
No Get Along Gang, huh?
I do have a couple Get Along Gang ones, but they're not in the greatest shape. That Get Along Gang merchandise is so hard to find, and every time I found the lunchbox, and I bought the ones that I found, but every time I found another one, they seem to be in worse and worse condition with the stickers peeling off or completely half torn off, and you're like, well, I can see that the side of Ricky Raccoon, but where's everybody else? Because they're gone.
I would think also with the lunch boxes, if I remember correctly, they're not just the lunch box, but you got to get the sticker right and nothing broken on the handle, because some handles had the little metal things to the side where it would just come down, and then some of them, whenever they released a little bit later in the 90s, to where it was just a pull up thing, that was just a solid piece of plastic. But then you get the thermos that I think always. The decals on that was always the worst, or it would yellow the fastest.
Well,
and then you had the thermos, the top, and then the screw-on lid.
Yeah, and the thermoses, a lot of them didn't have decals. They were just it was printed on the plastic. So over time of washing those, you would get this effect where that graphic would start to basically it just would start to vanish. So it would start to fade and vanish, and then you end up with these thermoses that you're like, well, I can kind of tell what that is, but it probably looked really cool when it was okay. That's what you get a lot of times. And yes, the tops are missing. The screw tops, which were the screw top cups, are missing a lot. So that makes lunchbox. I don't envy lunchbox collectors. I got into lunchbox collecting on a whim, and I thought, I'm never going to get into this too deep, and I've gone down the rabbit hole way too far. But a lot of guys who just strictly collect lunchboxes, man, I don't envy them, because that's you think toy collecting is an expensive hobby. Go try to buy a vintage glass thermos for a six Batman, and we'll talk expensive, because those things get pricey quick.
I guess I'll go next. I've got my first love, probably my first lunchbox. Many of you guys know was Smurfs, so had that on here. Then I went to Transformers. I still the artwork on that was just like it is on kind of a lot of the back of the boxes. That beautiful artwork, and you see that action scene where they're all transforming, and really cool. I like that. Then Captain Power. I just always thought Captain Power was interesting, and I just actually sold my Captain Power collection this week.
Oh.
Yeah.
Don't tell me things like that. That's heartbreaking, man.
I'm selling a lot of vintage stuff.
Oh, it's heartbreaking.
And my last Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, where the artwork wasn't as interesting, it was very cartoony with like the Playmates cartoony style, but I still, it was Ninja Turtles, and it was like that time period to where it was appropriate. So that's kind of my and kind of the way that I kind of progressed is like my toy collecting and my love for toys. Smurfs, Transformers, a lot of obscure things, Ninja Turtles. So.
All right. My number one was Return of the Jedi, the metal one with Luke in the gun in Jabba's palace on one of the sides. I want to say I had it in like either the 6th or 7th grade. That was easily my favorite one. The second one would be the Universal Monsters, and I think I still have the thermos. The lunchbox is long gone, and I think I was associating these with like what grade I was in. I think I was in like either the 4th or the 5th. And then this one's weird. I've gotten into kind of like geek topic conversations before, and I've never found another person who had this one. Clash of the Titans, and I believe I was 4th grade, but I loved it. I remember it had Bubo the owl, the like bionic-looking metal owl on one of the sides, and I thought that was cool. And then the 4th one was, I think I was maybe in third grade, and it was a Hanna-Barbera lunchbox. It was one of the tall ones with the 2 snaps. I think it was yellow, and you could put Hanna-Barbera character stickers all over it. And I just remember I had like Wally Gator on the front of it. I can't remember any of the others, but I do remember getting that one, and I thought it was cool because you could like make your own lunchbox.
That's neat.
Yeah.
Is it my turn? Am I the last one?
Dalton still got to go too.
Okay.
So either one of y'all.
Go ahead.
Was he even born in the 90s?
Well, I'm sure he like not like paperback, but whenever they in the 90s they started coming out with those
The plastic zip-up ones.
yeah, stuff like that where they had like neon lightning bolts and stuff like that.
Mine would be Transformers, of course. I had the plastic and the metal one. I still have a metal one complete. And then there was also GoBots. I remember having that one, and Silverhawks.
Oh,
and,
good one.
And then Ninja Turtles was probably one of the last ones I had growing up.
All right, little D, what's up?
I think I've only had one lunchbox as far as like having designs on. I mean, I got a tin one when I was like 2 or 3 just to have in my room. It was a Lionel one, but then when I was actually going to school, the other one I actually had was the Fox Ninja Turtles from 2003.
Oh, the next
okay.
mutation.
Well, no, the Fox Kids series.
Yeah, that was
the cartoon.
Yeah. Oh, the. Huh.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
I keep thinking that would have been Next Mutation, but
That was a little,
They did a movie on that one. So I know what you're talking about as far as design
one.
was.
Oh yeah, I know what you're talking about now. Sorry, yeah, it was the one where they like right after that series stopped, they did TMNT, the computer animated one.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's really the only one I've had. Other than that, it's just been the plain old lunchboxes.
Oh man, see, that was one of the cool things. That's something that I know they still do some lunchboxes, but I think that was one of the coolest things. Whenever you're a kid, your parents are like, "All right, we're going, school shopping." It was like clothes. Sometimes you'd be excited for a little bit. You pick out a couple of things, and then your mom would like pick out all this stuff. You're like, "Oh God, like, I'm not going to church every day, Mom. Come on, it's just." But whenever it was like, all right, let's go pick out your binder. Someone mentioned in here, oh, I get to pick my Trapper Keeper,
The Trapper
which
Keepers.
would tear up in like 3 weeks.
Yep.
And then even our school, they even banned Trapper Keepers. They were like, it needs to be a 3-inch binder, no Trapper Keepers.
Yeah.
And then there was some rebels. We thought that they were so bad. Oh man, Johnny, dude, that's a bad boy right there. He's got a Trapper Keeper. He just said, screw this. So
funny thing about the folders, I went into Target this week, and this happens every year in September or August. I went in and they had like Captain Phasma folders and shit, and I was just like, that same feeling as I had as a kid, like I need to buy that because it's got Captain Phasma on a folder. I still had that feeling. I bought it, but I still had that same feeling. And it's funny because I have a little boy who's 3.5. I literally started looking for, and he watches a lot of stuff that I watched. He's watching He-Man now. He's watching Mask, G.I. Joe, and Transformers, Thundercats, all that stuff. And I've already started looking at like, what lunchbox might I get him that he would like really enjoy. I started looking.
You can see Rick go to his next board meeting, and then he was like, "All right, guys," and then he puts his Trapper Keeper down.
Yeah.
And Velcros, and he's got all these like Star Wars folders and stuff. That's like me. That. All right, go instead of vanilla folders. But yeah, the binders. The cool thing was like the pick out of the lunchbox, because this is what's going to define me this year is this lunchbox. If I walk in there with the wrong thing, then that might just crush my popularity for that year. I might lose all my friends.
You're like, I can't walk in there with a kissy for a lunchbox. I got to walk in there with something so cool.
Yeah. So, and then. You don't want to walk in there with a paper bag. I'm like, oh, look at this guy, man, and he's gonna try to sit at our table. No, but the lunch boxes were so cool. That was like the fun thing about being a kid. It
really was.
School shopping. Like you said, you're even trying to pick them out for your kid. Like he's got no choice.
It's still cool. Yeah, I'm like, which ones didn't I have? I saw they had a Mask one, and I'm like, he really likes Mask, and I'm already like, we gotta wait and see what he's into like a year from now. But yeah, I enjoyed looking through them. I was just looking on eBay mostly.
All right, the last Mount Rushmore that we'll do today, because we've done several of them. We usually just do one, but Trust me, guys, we got plenty to do them every single week. What's your Mount Rushmore of animated dogs? Who wants to go first on this?
I'll go
I think
on the
we're going to
dogs.
have a lot of the same list, but
Well, here's what I got on mine. Number one, I got a Charlie from All Dogs Go to Heaven.
oh, good one. I didn't even think of that.
Yeah, I forgot about that movie. That's a good movie.
It is. The second one is Brian from Family Guy.
I knew you were going to pick that one.
Yeah, I did too.
And then Astro from the Jetsons.
Oh, another good one.
And then this is a hard one, this last one. I'll go with Snoopy from Charlie Brown.
All right. I've got
Do you want
mine.
me to, okay, go ahead.
Okay, I also went with Snoopy. I even had a stuffed animal Snoopy. It was about probably over a little over about 14 inches tall, and he even came with a chair as well that he sat in. I love that thing. I put on there Scooby. I loved watching Scooby-Doo, you know, from, you know, the cartoons that were back in, like, you know, the 60s and stuff like that, even in the 80s. I just thought Scooby-Doo was awesome. And even when they, you know, changed him into a, you know, a pup named Scooby-Doo, redid the Scooby-Doo series, I just think he's an awesome dog. I put Ace just because of, you know, Batman animated series, you know, Batman Beyond. It's Bruce Wayne. It's Batman's dog, Ace. You know, he's a badass. So, and then last, probably still in one here from Devall, but he can still name it as well. I'm gonna say Pluto. I know how you and Carrie love the Disney stuff. Well, she loves Goofy, I think.
Yes.
But, so I'll leave that for her. But I was gonna say Pluto, just because, you know, growing up, you know, Disney stuff like that, and he's just, you know, a famous dog, you know. So.
For dogs. Jeez. I would have to say Doug from Up. It's a great Benji. Oh, Benji's not. Well, Benji got animated once. That works. Technically, it works. Gosh. God, Charlie from All Dogs Go to Factory is really good. Burt Reynolds at his best, at his finest. And then Goofy, only because I fear that the fire hair is somewhere nearby, and if I don't say Goofy, I'm probably going to get punched. So Goofy.
All right, so dogs. This was a tough one, I thought. My number one was Dino-Mutt, and I absolutely love the design for Blue Falcon and Dino-Mutt. And it's really good. Second one, and this one I think as a kid, as I was getting introduced to Superman, I saw this cartoon, Underdog. And for whatever reason, that became like this cartoon dog that I would see. I remember getting coloring books, a statue, maybe like a decade ago. I bought an Underdog statue. So I definitely like Underdog. And then Muttley, I always dug Muttley as just a cool Hanna-Barbera character. Yeah, and it's, you know, and it's funny because some of these, you know a little bit more about them. I couldn't tell you anything about Muttley except for he's got a great sense of humor, and he hangs out with Dastardly.
Dastardly.
Yeah. And then last on my list is
Wacky Races.
Yeah, I mean Hanna-Barbera has some good ones, and the last one is an obvious one, Scooby-Doo, because I feel like how can you not Scooby-Doo? I will say shout out to Mystery Inc. because that is my favorite version of the Scoobies.
Yeah, I did tell you about how the guy Rick from Pawn Stars, whenever he laughs, it sounds exactly like
Yeah.
where he's
Yeah. Yeah.
Dalton.
I would. I'm gonna have to go this one of the routes that everyone else is going. Charlie from All Gods Go to Heaven. I've seen that so many times. All like, what was it, like 3 or 4 movies that they've done since I've grown up. Of course, Brian, Family Guy, Balto. I actually grew up watching that movie.
Yeah.
And yeah, again, Scooby-Doo. I mean, again, grew up watching that on Boomerang. So.
Here's a couple that I think are very popular. Maybe one more than the other. For the dog from Oliver and Company, I always thought he was really cool.
Dodger.
Okay. And you got the dogs from Lady and the Tramp.
Yeah.
Those are pretty iconic as well. Disney loves dogs.
That they do. They really, really do.
I'm more of a cat person, but so.
I know they love the dogs. They always crap on the cats. Cats are always the villains half the time.
Yeah, like I'm watching the college today because it started up this week, and sitting there laying with my cat, and I'm like, all right, so this game's got a cat in it, so we'll go for the Houston Cougars over Oklahoma Sooners, and yeah, cats win, point for us, and then we root for our Nittany Lions, so. All right, so getting into a question, kind of, so you guys can get a little bit more familiar with Devall, and then, definitely, go subscribe and go check him out on his channel after the show ends. What's some of the most obscure toy lines that you collect? I mean, I know there's a lot of them out there, but if you had to think of some of the most obscure things, and I try to think of some myself, Snailians.
Aliens are pretty obscure. Mantech was a very obscure one, which is something I have. I've got a lot of Mantech stuff. As I'm just looking across of everything around here that I've got. Power Lords, which is a big one for me, from Revell, who's mostly known as a model company. They tried their hands at action figures with designs created by famous sci-fi illustrator Wade Barlow in the 80s. That's a spectacularly obscure line, and it's beautifully done. Chuck Norris Karate Commandos. It's not as obscure, but it's people go, "Wait, Chuck Norris had a toy line?" Yeah, they did.
Yeah, I think you got that in like some over the top.
Over the top is really obscure. Every time people see those figures, they come over and they go, "What are those?" I'm like, "Yeah, those are over the top figures." The Sylvester Stallone movie? I'm like, yeah. I made a toy line that they all arm wrestle one another. Some of the mainline ones that Food Fighters is while it's gaining in popularity, it's still pretty obscure. Star Ears is a really obscure one.
Oh yeah.
Defenders of the Earth from Galoob, even though it uses characters like Flash Gordon and Mandrake the Magician and the Phantom and Ming, it's still, people still don't realize that toy line exists. We could go on and on about.
Do you think Dick Tracy is a little bit more popular than like it's not mainstream like even Thundercats, G.I. Joe stuff, but it's not exactly Star Wars, like you said. Like that's one of those ones that we can say on here that a lot of people probably don't even remember.
And if anyone watches, like you've watched a lot of the shows, and anyone who's familiar with me, and anyone who's not, who goes back and watches a lot of them, will realize I gravitate towards the toy lines nobody loved. Like, toy lines I grew up in the 80s even looking at and thumbing my nose up at because I was like, But now I gravitate towards those lines, stuff like Stone Protectors and stuff like Earthworm Jim and, Power Lords and Mantech and just these odd, silly lines that people are like this guy back here from Kidder in the 70s. The wonderful Milky, the marvelous milking cow.
Is that the one you can feed him?
Yes, she drinks water. She's got a little ballast in her tummy, so you bend her head back and you pump her tail, and she fills up with water, and then when she's done, she kicks back and moves, and then you can actually milk her through her udders. Yeah. It don't get much more obscure than 70s Kinner stuff, I'll tell you that. That wasn't Star Wars, because everyone knows Star Wars, but they made a lot of weird stuff before that, so... there's a lot of great, main toy lines, though, that are Visionaries is pretty much an obscure line at this point because people tend to forget about it a lot. As popular as Humanoids is, a lot of people, as they're starting out in this hobby, go, what are those? And then you show them these amazing monsters like Tendril and Decompose and Metlar, and they're like, oh my god, I must have those. And you go, yeah, well, it's going to cost you a lot of money probably. Those are what I gravitate towards, though. I love the weird toy lines that nobody gave two craps about.
And those, Kenner, they made a lot of movie, toys and stuff like that as well. So a lot of those that were really strange. What about some of you other guys? Rick, what's some of the more obscure lines that that you collect now, or maybe you did?
The one that's been on my brain here the last few minutes was I was going to ask Devall about was one that I started to get, but I never finished it because some of the characters were really hard to find. Was the Black Hole?
Oh, no. Go on. We'll have a conversation about those.
Yeah, I started to collect it. So there's another property. If you're talking about like favorite space movies, Black Hole's easily on there because I really dug the robots, the designs for the robots, Vincent and Old Bob and Star and the Sentries and Maximilian. But trying to find like an Old Bob, like the old Bob, trying to find one in a little village in Europe somewhere is, it got to be too hard. And I forget the name of they had like the humanoid characters that wore the masks in the movie that were kind of like the drones. They are super tough to find.
Yes. We were at, my buddy Dave Draper and I were at a Kane County toy show up near Chicago. It happens twice a year, like the biggest toy show in the nation. And this last spring we were there, we happened upon a guy's table, had a bunch of super rare stuff in the cases, and Dave had bought a couple of foreign Secret Wars figures from him the year before, like Iceman and Constrictor, stuff that just got released, I think in Italy. And in this case, he had Old Bob, he had the humanoid figure, and we were like, not only did he have just those, he had multiples of them.
Oh my God!
And yeah, it was crazy. So we were like, hey,
what kind of prices? Do you remember what kind of price tags?
I do. Old Bob, he wanted $700 for.
Yeah.
And the humanoid, he wanted close to $1,000.
Yeah.
Because it had the little humanoid figures had these little removable cloth boots that are just lost to time after a while, and they're super hard to find complete. And every one of them he had was complete. And he's like, I need about $1,000 a piece for them. We were like, well, nice talking to you. See you later. Bye. And my buddy Dave is somebody who will literally throw money at something he wants, and that was even for him to go, I want them. They're not that cool. So
right. That's cool.
I actually just sold 3 that I actually collected these when I was a kid, and there was a lot of stuff. I bought all types of stuff. So while I don't have it, a lot of the stuff that you talk about, like I know what it is, even though it's not able to make it in my collection. But I just sold off one item short of having a complete set of Air Raiders.
Oh, dude!
By Hasbro. I just sold off, I think, 4 items. Well, maybe more than that, but I had quite a bit. I think it was like 20-something vehicles and like 50-something figures of Coleco Starcom. Sold all those.
You're killing me over here. I'm literally going to cry.
And I just sold off a ton of my Captain Power stuff. I still have 3 Captain Power figures on card, 2 from Series 2. So I was going to sell those individually because they can get quite a bit of money on their own. One that I'm missing the base, and I'm missing just a little bug to Night Fighting Dargon to have a complete collection of Sectars with all of them working. All of them have their wings and attached and everything.
Yeah.
How many of those are there, Josh?
Let's see.
The Sectars.
Let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4.
That's a really cool line that I never got. It's very cool though.
I can see 9 right now. Let's see. As far as big beast, there are 4. So you have 2 good, 2 bad. Those with the hand puppets. The rest of them, they're gonna have like little bitty guys. Um, I forget all their. I know some of their names, but there's a couple of them that have. I think it's Waspex that comes with Winget. Anytime you look for him, his leg or his wings are usually broken or cracked. Like mine, I had to look forever and pay stupid money for it to find that his wings were perfect. I found Night Fighting Dargon, which was a Series 2 figure.
One of the only ones that got released out of Series 2.
Yeah, and I found the little guy, but every time I find him, he's either got one wing or no wing. And like someone was like, "Here's the figure, and he has his wings." I'm like, "Yeah, but his wings are ripped off," you know. So that's one of the things that I'm missing, and I have all their weapons and everything. So I just need him and the Hive to be 100% complete on that. But that's another thing that I'm looking. I'm like, I might be selling that soon. So.
Wow, dude.
Dude, you should complete that. You're so close, and hold on to it. I mean, especially, do you enjoy still like hanging out with it, like it in your room?
Yes, because I think it's one of the coolest looking things to look at and display and be that's vintage.
That's a cool line too. I mean, it's like part puppet, part action figure, part. It's
got
just
the electronics, action figure. One of the guys, he can actually squirt water. I forget which guy he comes with, but that's one of the obscure ones that I'm still hanging on to. I bought you can see them like right there, the Takara Beast Saga figures, which were kind of like their new like dice game spin on Battle Beast.
Battle Beast, yeah.
So I've got, except for the translucent ones, I've got all those. I hate that they ended that line because I enjoyed them. I thought they were really cool looking, even though I didn't have any idea how to play the game. But
yeah, dude, Sectars is not a hole I've gone down yet because I'm like, I've had a couple chances to buy the Hive, and I'm like, I can't do it.
I've seen that thing, go for $300, 100% complete inbox. I've seen it go for like $115 one time, or I think it was like after shipping like $130, and I'm like, oh man, I just missed out on that. I was like, I should have bought it. It was inbox, sealed, everything, and I'm like, I have no idea why they sold it for that price. It was like a buy it now. It wasn't even bidding.
Sometimes people just throw stuff up to get rid of it, and you're like, huh?
Oh, that's what I've been doing. I've been posting my Kenner carded Batman Returns line. So yeah, maybe we can talk. Eventually, maybe a little bit down the road, maybe we come to some agreement on Sectars, but
we'll have to have a conversation.
Yeah, who knows? Dalton, Mike, you guys have anything to add to kind of like those obscure toy lines that maybe you have in your collection right now, or you collected kind of back in the day?
I don't know if it'd be considered obscure or not, but the Five Nights at Freddy's Funko figures. I mean, because usually Funko does like the pop vinyl like bobbleheads, whereas these are full-on articulated little figures in the video game. So that's really the only thing I've got that would be considered obscure.
You're a mainline type of guy, huh?
Yeah.
I think I don't have a whole lot. I mean, it's been mostly nothing but oddballish out there as of late, or anything I can remember.
I got a couple of people in the comments here. Certain Games, he says, does anyone remember Pirates of Dark Water or Bot Masters? Pirates of Dark Water. Was that?
That was a Hanna-Barbera show.
Was it LJN that did those?
No, it was Hasbro.
Was it Hasbro? Okay.
It's Hasbro because they reused the ship later on for the Mortal Kombat line.
Oh, you know what? Another line. Well, I've got several carded figures that unpunched that I'm also Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves. They
Mhm.
also had a Peter Pan line to where they really used a lot of stuff in that. So with the they used stuff from the Ewok village, bringing that. They used forget was it
They used in
the
they didn't
little
actually
ship?
well in like
Or I'm thinking
Robin
Robin Hood and,
Robin
and the
Hood, yeah.
Ewok village.
Yeah,
Okay.
Robin Hood reused the Ewok Village molds. They repurposed molds from Superpowers line, including the Lex Luthor body, bodies from Robin, Hawkman. They repurposed the molds from the Gamorrean Guard, like a lot of those figures in
He's
that
Friar
line.
Tuck.
Yep,
Yeah.
he's Friar Tuck underneath that. Yep, yep. So they didn't reuse the molds; they actually just repurposed them and added stuff to those molds to make a lot of those figures. So
Okay. I thought that the Peter Pan was I forgot who did that one.
well, there was a
The
line
cartoon.
that
Who did that?
for the cartoon. I don't remember who that line was. Those were all brand new. That was some oddball company. I have all of them loose and complete. That was just some weird oddball company that did them, and I can't remember it for the life of me off the top of my head. But those actually were all original. Like the Captain Hook, if you poked him in the stomach, his hat popped off and his bird's head popped up, and it was a weird line based on that Fox animated series.
That's what it was. Fox
Yeah.
animated.
Yep.
Yes. Which I thought was a pretty good cartoon.
Yes, I may or may not have a complete run of that obtained illegally from the internet.
I used to watch it. There was a YouTube channel that had all the episodes, and I was
Yes.
watching them on that a while back. So, let's see. Move into the next thing. This is something that also Devall that you collect, and obviously I did at one time. I think we all did. Do you think the collecting of like stuffed dolls, animal figures, whatever you want to call them, does it not get the love that it should have? Do you see that might be something that maybe that comes back? Because I went into Walmart the other day and here's a bunch of Care Bears, and I'm like, okay, is this coming back? Just like we see with Transformers, and it's the easiest way for kind of our audience, I guess, to understand.
I think because the audience that you have, and especially a lot of you do, is that mostly action figure guys don't see a lot of the stuff that gets re-released. A lot of the stuff, like stuffed animal wise, like Care Bears and Popples, have come back a number of times now. With the newest iterations now at like Walmart, if you look in Crane Games in Walmart, you'll probably see a ton of like new Care Bears and Crane Games. I don't understand why, but Popples came back because of the Netflix series. But like vintage stuffed animals, there's a huge collector market for that. There's a lot of people out there looking for and buying, vintage Care Bears, vintage Popples, a lot of stuff like the more obscure stuff like Wuzzles and Fluffy Dogs. There's always been people collecting the old Dakin Disney stuff from the 50s and 60s, or stuff released in the parks that were stuffed animals. So that I think you're right, though. It is something that doesn't get as much love as it should, because it's a lot of stuff that we, even as action figure collectors, grew up on. I had a ton of Care Bears when I was a kid. I had Popples when I was a kid because they were they were fun to have.
I think some stuffed Wuzzles too.
Yes, I had stuff. I had Wuzzles. I'm not gonna lie. I slept with a Care Bear for years when I was like 4 through 6. I had a little Care Bear that I slept with, a little friendship bear, and I still have my Gizmo, because there's a stuffed Gizmo that squeaks when you shake him.
Yeah, I used to have that.
Yep, I still have my original one. That's eyes are all beat up and his furs, and then I found a better one too. That I now have my original one and one that looks pristine. So I think stuffed animals is something, though, that anyone who gets into collecting that really has to have the room for. I have a lot of room, but even now I'm getting to the point where I'm like, I don't know where these stuffed animals are going to go. We need to stop buying because Care Bears are overtaking my world. So
because here's how I was gonna kind of. I was looking at it. Most of our audience Transformer collectors. Okay.
Yeah.
So if they collect, let's say G1, they're probably like, okay, I want to be a G1 collector, and a lot of them have been doing it for years, even decades. So and some of them, they start buying from a kid and just never got rid of it. So they start buying G1. They probably start with like season 2, 1, 2, 3. They build up, and then all of a sudden they get into that, and let's say they get it even into the Japanese, or they don't. Usually, it comes to kind of towards the end of collecting G1 to where they're like, Action Masters, remember those? And so what we saw, 5, 8 years ago, even Action Masters, man, you could pay a couple dollars and you could get a complete Action Master, with all the stuff. To where now a loose complete Action Master with not even the best conditions sells for quite a bit of money, because now there's more people that's in high demand, because all these guys, they already got everything else.
Yeah.
That's what's left. So now they're competing for this, and the bid's going up on it. So I wonder if it's one of those things
happened the same way with like vintage stuffed animals. Happened the same thing with New Adventures of He-Man too. No He-Man collector wanted to touch those for years. And there was a Christmas one year when myself and Pixel Dan owned a toy shop here in town, and for Christmas I bought him a box Nordor, which is the villain's playset from New Adventures, for $10 on eBay. $10. You couldn't give those things away back then, and this was 2000, 2001, and now New Adventures stuff has skyrocketed in price, where He-Man collectors have everything else. Now they're going after New Adventures, and it's like, But stuffed animals like...
I was wondering if it would eventually come back, like me, my original love, first, Smurfs, where I would come back around. Or, what do you guys think as well? Well, you can complete a certain time of your vintage collecting and then go, all right, well, let me go back to, like, very early on.
I think you see that a lot. I think you see that a lot with a good example. While not stuffed animal exactly, you see that with My Little Pony, and still going on to this day, where people getting into, especially a lot of the girls getting into that My Little Pony Friendship is Magic show and that toy line, are going back and suddenly realizing, oh, there was an 90s toy line, and there was an 80s toy line, and there was all these stuffed animals they did, and all this and that, and they're like, it's just a circle where they're going basically, back in time to collect all this stuff. I think there's a number of properties, like I said, Care Bears, Popples, which has come back, although neither one of them seem to do very well every time they come back to do that. You have to have a property that actually can succeed for an extended amount of time in that range before people start to realize, oh, there's stuff, let's go back and get it. Transformers has been lucky; it's never really left the toy aisles for maybe less than a year in between G2 and Beast Wars. You gotta have stuff, something like, I want to say He-Man, but Transformers is big, Joe's big, that kind of stuff where it's been successful and never really faded until recently with Joe. But the stuffed animal stuff, man, it's hard to say because there's such a large community that collects those that I know some of them I don't get into it that much, but I know a lot of the prices on a lot of different stuffed animals that people now are like, oh, I want to go back and get those. It's
what about you? You other guys, would you ever make that, completion to where you go all the way back to kind of infancy where you did collect stuffed animals? I mean, we all did at one time or had one.
Yeah, I know as a kid I had a decent amount of stuffed animals, and I know that when I was in college, and this was when, dating myself here, Lion King came out, and I know I went to see Lion King like 6 or 7 times at the theater, and Disney stores were popping up everywhere. I remember around that period going in and starting to get like a few, I cherry picked characters that I liked, Disney characters, and it kind of fizzled after maybe 3 or 4 years, but a few things that I held on to. I have a nightmare. I love Disney. I like a lot of the obscure Disney stuff. I have a Nightmare Before Christmas bathroom upstairs. And I do have Lock, Shock, and Barrel, some stuffed versions of those guys in that bathroom. And other than that, I don't know if I have any other stuffed animals here. But I could easily see myself picking up like key things that I remembered really well. The problem with me going back into that stuff is our main lines are so deep to the point where we have third-party companies making things too. It's so deep that at the end of the day, if you're into G.I. Joe, Transformers, Voltron, Mask, I'm looking around my room, Masters of the Universe subs, G.I. Joe subs, Transformers subs, At the end, and I do 1/6 stuff too. 1/6 alone is a hobby. It's
Oh God, yes.
balancing things month to month. I find it's an interesting juggle. What gets my disposable income, and some months I let 1/6 stuff go, and I'm like, I'm going to skip that. I'm going to skip that. And there's some things that I'll never skip. There's some things like the the Motu Classic stuff. I had a hard time skipping anything because I think it was that period of time as a kid. I love Star Wars stuff. I love G.I. Joe, love Transformers, but Masters of the Universe, for whatever reason, when they started making the classics, I saw that and it was I can't say no. There's no willpower at all. With Transformers even, I can wait on a few things here and there, or like Leader Soundwave that just came out. I can wait on that. Like, I don't need that. But like my Motu stuff, I'm not sacrificing that for anything. So for me, I collect too many things, I think, to circle back to the stuffed animals. But like I said, there may be some key things that I had as a kid, or characters, like I said, the Lock, Shock, and the Barrel from Nightmare Before Christmas, something that I see that resonates, and I'm like, oh, a cool thing I could do is put I know when Xander was born, we had a Star Wars room done, and I bought a stuffed Yoda. He had some really cool prints that I had someone on Etsy did, so they were like, very rare. She wasn't making a lot of these, and I bought one single Yoda stuffed animal, and it's fun because when you look in the room, having that one really, it gives you the feel of the Star Wars thing without having an overabundance. And then later I bought him an R2, and then I bought him a BB-8. So I definitely still have a love for the stuffed animals because I did as a kid, but I don't see me collecting it.
Okay. Any other guys you want to add anything or?
I think he summed it up for me. So.
Yeah.
When you talked about the stuffed animals, I was just thinking, I actually still have my original Care Bear. As I was a child, it was actually a nighttime bear. With all my other stuffed animals as a child, my first teddy bear. It's just stuff that I held on to.
That's cool.
It's sentimental. I have my teddy bear, my little teddy bear, and it's a thing called my mother called it a Charlie doll. It's a little blue flannel-looking little doll, but it had a little rattle in it, for a baby, and my mother, I guess, when I was a baby, she washed it, and it actually broke the rattle inside of it. But, like I said, to this day, I still technically have everything my parents bought me as a baby and a child, as that, I guess, more of a sentimental value than anything else. And then getting to my age, even when I went to Disney a couple months ago, I actually bought a stuffed animal for myself, and it was actually a Mickey Mouse. It's the Fantasia Mickey Mouse with the blue hat and everything. It's by far my favorite Mickey Mouse of all time. And,
I don't think you can go wrong with Mickey. Like, you could buy a Mickey Mouse and put it in your room collection, whatever, and like no one would even bat an eye because it's like, dude, it's so iconic.
Right.
Like anyone would want it.
Even forget, I don't know if it was Christmas or Father's Day or something. My wife and girls got me it was 2 Build-A-Bear Ninja Turtles because I like Ninja Turtles as well, and they had the little voice thing in their paw, and they'd push it and it'd sing the theme song. I got granted, I'm almost 40 years old and I still have stuffed animals in the closet,
Yeah.
And of course, when you talk about, would I go back and collect, G1 or whatever line, there's so much Transformer G1 stuff and so much cooler stuff coming out now. The only G1 stuff I have is typically reissued. I prefer reissued because when you're buying offline from a seller you don't know from Timbuktu, you don't know what you're buying. You don't know if it's going to fall apart as soon as you take it out of the box, and then you're SOL and getting your money back or something. Unless it's, a very rarity, it's something I'm not going to go out of my way to get. It's kind of like the Titans Return, the Combiner War stuff, the BotCon stuff, the JoeCon stuff. I'm content with that. You know, I'm not going to go and spend, you know, these crazy ass prices people ask for some stuff nowadays. Just, you know, I rather take $100 and go buy 5 or 6 newer figures and put it towards one figure, you know, or invest $300 or $400 into a exclusive like BotCon or JoeCon item that is not a mass retail product at all.
I feel Mike's pain because most of the Transformers I bought that are G1 over the years were from the bookshelf editions that Takara released in the early, what was that, 2000 to 2003, maybe?
Yeah, 2003, and then after they did it, Hasbro did it as well.
Yeah, that's commemorative.
My toy shop was open during that time, and I would order the crap out of those because they'd sell like hotcakes.
Yep.
And I'd always keep one for myself, so that's what started. Right. And now those are worth more, if about the same, or if not more, than the vintage ones.
I actually have both complete, the Takara and the Hasbro versions.
Yeah.
The Takara, it can go up to close to $2,000 almost.
That's nuts.
For the whole complete Takara. Now, granted, the ones I have, some have been open because I bought from this one and that one. I didn't get it all in one collection.
Right.
Like my Hasbro one, I lucked out on an eBay auction, and the only reason I keep it or keep both of them is that my mother bought me that set. You know, that was actually like the last toy my mother bought me for my birthday, and I'll probably die owning that set. You know, because like I'm a sentimental family kind of guy. I'll keep more crap than I need to keep because my mother bought it.
He's a family guy.
Exactly. Or my wife bought it. Now, granted, don't tell my wife I sold some Ninja Turtle stuff she bought me that I needed money on. But anyways, I mean, most of the stuff I'll keep. You know, it's like Josh said, I'm a family guy. I like to keep stuff knowing that my children got it for me, or my wife got it for me, or my mom and dad got it. Like, I don't play poker no more. My dad bought me a, oh gosh, they called him the brick. I used to play poker, like addicted poker guy. And my father bought me a poker set, and it was he's called the Brat of the World Series of Poker. He's kind of a prick, but
I don't watch professional poker.
It's his poker set. It's like his chips, cards, and it's a case my dad bought me probably 6-8 years ago, and I've never used it, but I've kept it because of the sheer fact my father went out and got it for me because I was an addictive, poker player, really bad poker player. So I mean, it was just something he knew I was into. He got it for me. I took some of the chips because they had pictures on them or something to take as like a little charm or something, but besides that was pretty much it.
All right, well, let's see. We'll tackle this one last thing, and then we'll call it a night. We kind of mentioned this when we talked a little bit about it on Cybercast, but how do you feel about Deathstroke being in the next Batman movie? So didn't say that he was necessarily going to be the main protagonist in that movie, or the only one, but said that he will appear and he will fight with Batman. How do you feel about Deathstroke being in there? Rick, you and I kind of mentioned already before. We like the idea of, you're doing someone besides Joker, Two-Face, Mr. Freeze, Penguin. You're going out like to one that is, maybe not as popular, but it's definitely like today, like it's very recognizable. Just kind of like, Deadpool is a ripoff of Deathstroke, even though they changed their personalities. But Marvel was like, hey, that guy, the way he's with the swords and guns and the way he looks, that's how Marvel was like, we got to make a Deadpool, and they did a really good job with the personality and stuff like that. But I think it's pretty recognizable, and it's one of those that I think is a very good choice because it's a little off the cuff. It's not that. What if they said Batman? They're like, all right, who are we doing? Penguin. You'd have been like, I've seen this movie before.
Yeah.
A few times. You know, or hey, it's going to be Joker's like I've seen this movie before a few times. Now it's someone different to where we feel like, hey, you know what, we're gonna get a real original story here. So,
and not only that, but a villain that can pretty much match Batman in hand-to-hand
Exactly.
combat for a lot of it. So
Yep.
I think if the rumor persists and if it's true what they were originally working on for that Affleck, I guess he's writing, directing, and starring, of course, is that it was supposed to be kind of an offshoot of the Arkham games. It was going to feature just about every villain in his rogues gallery. And if that's the case, then it makes sense that if Deathstroke is going to be in it, that he be the main linchpin and all of that sets everyone free, and that he's the main, antagonist throughout the entire film. That would be great, because you still get to see all these other classic villains, a lot of which we have not seen in the new DCU, in the cinematic universe for them. But it'd be nice to see them, like you said, focus on Deathstroke, someone who we haven't seen other than on the small screen, really, on Arrow. That is somebody else that is a kind of a breath of fresh air for that. So.
Yeah, because we see them in animated movies, but for real live action, it'll be the first time. Anyway, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Rick.
No, I feel like it's a cool choice, but I also feel like it's a safe choice too. We kind of got used to, at least in the Nolan films, everything's kind of grounded in reality, and you have like some darker tones, but everything is like, we're working on this for the military, but it might work for you. Deathstroke is one of those characters where it is a little more grounded in reality. He's got a lot of swords and guns, and it's believable without going too far out there like they have been doing, with Doomsday, especially the way they did him in the new movie. And even Suicide Squad, that one still hadn't been out long enough, so I'm not going to spoil that one. But I think Deathstroke seems like a smart choice for that movie. I'm happy about it because of that. I'd like to see DC. I've enjoyed the movies. I don't think they're the best movies. I like the Nolan Batman stuff. I like the Tim Burton Batman stuff. I haven't enjoyed these as much as I've enjoyed the Marvel movies, but I enjoyed Suicide Squad. And parts of Batman vs. Superman I enjoyed. So I'd like to see Deathstroke come in and everybody really like him. I like to see him doing well. I'd like to see him become that household name because I've always liked him, and I think it's time that they cash in on some of the things that they do right at DC. And I think it's a smart choice.
Do any of y'all actually remember that in Smallville they actually had Slade Wilson as well in there for a few episodes?
Yeah.
I just got finished watching the last 5 seasons. I don't recall, did they actually, if he wore any kind of suit similar to it or not?
I don't remember it being on there. Not the suit. I don't remember it.
I remember Slade Wilson, and of course, like you said, someone said about him being an Arrow, and I watched that whole series. I'm on that. I mean, it's good to see the factor that they're using, people we haven't seen before, but it makes you wonder, because how people, would they actually use the Slade Wilson character? Will it be someone totally, a different person?
I'm sure it's going to be someone totally different, just like they did with the Flash. They went with Ezra Miller over
Grant Gustin.
Yeah. So I think that they're treating it as, even though they're the same character, as it's just, hey, this is the TV world, this is the movie world. Some people don't like that because they'll be like, well, Marvel does the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and it's TV and it adapts
No,
to
you know
movie.
what though?
But I'm like, I mean,
they
it's
don't
like
really.
Marvel.
Though.
Marvel, they do Fantastic Four and then Avengers and then X-Men, and they're all Marvel and they're like part of a separate,
Yep.
So
Yeah.
I
why can't DC?
I think DC is way different though when it comes to stuff like that, because the reason, in the series, they got rid of Slade Wilson and Arrow was because they were going to use him for the movies. The same thing they did with Deadshot. They killed Deadshot off an Arrow because they were going to use him for the movies. Well, that was before Jeff Johns took over, and now if you notice, there's kind of because they didn't want their audience to be confused. They're like, well, this is the TV universe and this is the film universe, so we can't have characters that have appeared on both. So we don't want to confuse people, but we're still gonna, we're just gonna separate those two. And now Jeff Johns has come in and been like, well, no, let's put Superman on Supergirl instead of showing him in a shadow. Let's actually put him on the show as a key part of that show. Let's start putting these characters back. Whereas, Marvel has kind of, where DC can act as one fluid unit when they want. Marvel, they've separated film. Disney separated film and TV because film and TV don't like one another at all, which is why Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. now is just kind of doing its own thing. It's not really tied into the movies like it was that first season, or kind of tried to be that first season with Samuel Jackson. So, it's sad, but...
I mean, and they're bringing Ghost Rider to Marvel's Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., but...
how many people were upset that Netflix didn't get Ghost Rider and Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. did?
That actually does suck. I do love the Marvel stuff on Netflix. That, to me, that's a TV series right there. I can't really follow the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. It's one of those things I'm like... because I watch TV at work, and I'm like, there's nothing else to watch. It's the end of the Friday. I got a couple hours to kill before I call it the weekend. Let's watch this.
It's been tough watching it. It hasn't been. I don't feel like it's been as good.
No.
So I've tried to stick with it. Same with Agent Carter. I really liked the first season a whole lot. The second season I thought was okay. There were certain episodes that were just as good, but the storyline just kind of tanked. It didn't live up to the first season.
I kind of feel like that with Gotham. Like, I was really into that first season of Gotham. I was like, this is kind of a cool take on Batman. And then the second season, I was like, I can't watch this show anymore because I just can't take it anymore.
See, I've been watching Gotham as well. Just wait till season 25.
Oh yeah.
And Batman, dude.
Yeah.
I can't wait to see. I'd like to know. Well, I keep thinking. I have all these I have work conversations, and my wife and I have conversations. We both watch Gotham. We keep kind of predicting. All right, do you think they're going to do this episode where we see a future version? Because they're obviously not going to wait till the 6th season to show something. Are we going to get some episode that he's conked out, or it's Hugo Strange? We get this dream sequence, something where you get to see these characters that they're diving into, and what would the TV version look like? I want to know if they ever get to that part.
I think when ratings start to really tank, then they'll do, let's just flash forward 15 years, and let's just start it from there.
Yeah.
I think Gotham, it's going to be one of those shows that it's going to be one of those that, hey, we're riding this right now, it's doing good. Then it starts to go in decline. It's going to be a last-ditch effort to try to save it, and it's going to be one of those shows that it just ends. There's no and this completes the arc. It's not going to be one of those shows.
No.
I like some of the things that they do with the casting on that show, and one thing I also like about Gotham is it's shot beautifully. When they have a set piece, they really do a great job at the set pieces in that show. I hope that show picks up a little bit and keeps going. I'd like to see 10 seasons of that show. I don't know if they'll get that. The first season was obvious; it was definitely stronger.
Yeah. Well, I mean, look what they're doing with Poison Ivy. They recast that role already, and they're like, we're going to bring in an older actress, but then we're going to explain it that Hugo Strange aged her somehow. Oh.
Saw that. Yeah.
Same thing with the Joker. I saw an article where I guess that's who the Joker is supposed to be. The Joker, that boy they killed off. And then,
that they're bringing back now. Yeah.
Well, they never specifically said that he was the Joker, but there was a lot of hints towards it,
and almost hinted to the fact that he was the inspiration for the person who would become Joker.
Yeah.
But then he didn't do enough to really be like, okay, so you guys just killed him off. Great. Oh, we're going to bring him back, guys.
Yeah, so as soon as that happened, I was like, well, he's obviously not Joker.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, well,
Superhero
anyone-
TV. God bless it.
You know what? The one, like I said, Marvel's Netflix stuff is really good. Also, I want my season 3 of Young Justice.
Yes.
Yeah.
Animated series.
Young Justice, so good.
That second season, man, was so good. They started getting into the Blue Beetle and stuff like that. I
Yes.
love them touching on those characters. So,
That's a great show.
all right,
With that-
we'll go ahead. Oh,
I was just gonna say that's one character I'd like to see in live action is Jaime.
oh yeah.
Well, they were supposed to bring Ted Kord in on Arrow and Flash, but instead they changed it to the Atom, and it was supposed to originally be Ted Kord, the original Blue Beetle, and then they were like, So now they keep hitting it like Kord Industries and all this stuff, and you're like, just give me Booster Gold. For the love of God, hit me, babe.
Blue and gold.
All right, guys, we're gonna go ahead and end it there. So we'll go ahead and sign out. Dalton, why don't you start us off, man?
So you can find me everywhere at Dalton TS. If you need help spelling, it's right there.
All right, and Mike.
You can find me exclusively on Twitter at BlackHawkFan1978.
All right, and Rick.
Also on Twitter as Shatrdglassjazz.
All right, and our guest Jason. Also, thanks for coming on and sharing
Thanks
some
for
stuff
having
with
me.
us.
Absolutely. As you can tell, I'm passionate about toys. I get super excited when I get to talk about this stuff because my wife talks to me about it all the time. And she's just like, bored, go away. And I talk to Dave. I talk to Dave Draper every week, and every week we talk. We're just two schlubs sitting in chairs chatting about toys. But anytime I get to talk about toys with people that I haven't got to meet yet or stuff, I get really excited because I'm like, I love it. But you can find me on Twitter at Puppet Devall, YouTube.com/ToyWorldOrder, YouTube.com/BoardTheShow, ToyWorldOrder.com. Of course, you can find us on iTunes and Stitcher under Toy World Order as well, so you can find us a lot of different places and check out everything that we do.
All right, and you can find me, G1Xtron, on Twitter, YouTube, Instagram, YouTube, and Facebook pages, the G1Xtron. So thanks a lot for watching, guys. Hopefully you enjoyed, and we will talk to you guys later. Peace.
See ya.